United States. The United States arrive at the 2026 FIFA World Cup as one of 3 co-hosts, carrying the weight of a nation whose football passion has surged dramatically over the past decade. American soccer has undergone a transformation since their last home World Cup in 1994. With MLS growing into a legitimate top-tier league and a generation of world-class talents emerging in Europe. Christian Pulisic, who has shown at AC Milan, and Weston McKennie have given the USMNT a genuine identity, technically capable, physically imposing, and relentlessly competitive, playing at venues like MetLife Stadium and SoFi Stadium, in front of enormous and deafening home crowds, gives the Stars and Stripes an advantage that no seeding or ranking can fully quantify. Off the pitch, the United States finds itself at the center of a geopolitical storm that has already shaped this tournament. The Trump administration's ongoing military conflict with Iran has thrown one of their group stage opponents into deep uncertainty, with Iran's participation still unresolved just weeks before kickoff. Meanwhile, the USA's group draw has placed them alongside Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. A challenging but winnable set of opponents, if the squad can channel the noise of 80,000 home supporters rather than be suffocated by it, and if Pulisic hits the form of his life. This United States team has the platform to go further than any American side in history. For a nation that breathes sport, hosting the World Cup while competing in it is a once-in-a-generation opportunity, and this squad knows it. Mexico. Mexico entered the 2026 World Cup on home soil for the 3rd time in their history, a remarkable achievement that speaks to the country's deep-rooted footballing culture. El Tri have been a perennial round of 16 presence at World Cups, famously eliminated at that stage in 7 consecutive tournaments. And the co-hosting opportunity feels like destiny's invitation to finally break that curse, Herving Lozano's blistering pace down the flanks, Raul Jimenez's intelligent movement through the center, and the collective quality of a squad blending Liga MX experience with European exposure gives Mexico a genuine identity capable of competing with the continent's finest. Their opening match of the entire tournament against South Africa on June 11th at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico City will be played in one of football's most intimidating atmospheres, in front of over 80,000 passionate supporters who have waited years for this moment. Mexico's group, which includes South Korea and Czechia, is navigable, and the Azteca advantage could be decisive in the early rounds. The psychological burden of that recurring round of 16 exit has become a national obsession, but this edition offers a unique context. They are at home in their own stadiums, with their own fans. The political climate surrounding the tournament has brought its own complexities to Mexico's role as co-host. With the United States engaged in military conflict in the Middle East, and FIFA negotiating over Iran's group stage fixtures, Mexico has emerged as a potential alternative venue for geopolitically sensitive matches. Managing those diplomatic pressures while also competing for a place in the latter stages of the World Cup is an extraordinary challenge. But if Mexico can block out the noise and play the football they are capable of, a run deep into the knockout rounds is not just possible, it is expected. Canada's journey to the 2026 World Cup is one of the most remarkable stories in the history of CONCACAF football. The Canucks qualified for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, their first appearance since 1986, and now return as co-hosts, carrying with them a generation of extraordinary talent developed through elite European academies. Alphonso Davies, the Bayern Munich superstar, is the crown jewel of this renaissance, a genuine world-class left-back whose blistering speed and technical ability make him one of the most exciting players on the planet. Jonathan David, who has been one of the most prolific strikers in European football in recent seasons, gives Canada a finishing quality that could unlock any defense in the tournament. Canada opened their campaign on June 12th at BMO Field in Toronto against Bosnia and Herzegovina, a group stage that also includes Qatar and Switzerland, giving them a realistic path to the knockout rounds. As co-hosts, Canada carries both the opportunity and the pressure of a nation finally taking its place at football's top table. The tournament has generated extraordinary football passion across the country, with a new generation of Canadian supporters who have fallen in love with this team over the past 4 years. The group draw is kind enough to be manageable and tough enough to be meaningful, and the expectation will be to progress to the knockout stages, something they failed to do in Qatar. On the pitch, with Davies fitting David in the form of his life, Canada is no passenger at this tournament. They are here to compete and to make history. Spain arrive at the 2026 World Cup as the reigning European champions. This is a reinvented Spain, sharper, more vertical, more dynamic, and arguably more dangerous than the tiki-taka sides of a decade ago. Pedri, the Barcelona maestro, is arguably the most gifted central midfielder of his generation. Lamine Yamal, the teenage prodigy who became the youngest scorer in European Championship history at Euro 2024, has established himself as one of Europe's most feared attackers. Spain have won 12 of their last 16 competitive matches and were narrowly beaten on penalties by Portugal in the 2025 UEFA Nations League final. A result that counts as a draw in normal time, and which barely registers as a blemish on an otherwise extraordinary record. The biggest storyline surrounding Spain heading into the tournament is the fitness of Rodri, the 2024 Ballon d'Or winner, who suffered a serious anterior cruciate ligament injury in September 2024. After a long and stop-start recovery involving multiple setbacks, Pep Guardiola has publicly stated he expects Rodri to be at his best by the time the World Cup begins. More recently, Rodri has returned to regular club action and has been reintegrated into the Spanish squad, giving La Roja cautious optimism. A separate concern is Nico Williams, the Athletic Bilbao winger, who has been out indefinitely with a chronic groin injury. But even factoring in those uncertainties, Spain have been drawn into Group H alongside Uruguay, Cape Verde, and Saudi Arabia, about as favorable a group as they could have hoped for. If Rodri is fully fit and Yamal is operating at the level he showed at Euro 2024, Spain remain the most compelling case for tournament winners. And nothing since they lifted that trophy in Berlin has given the rest of the world a compelling reason to disagree. Argentina? Argentina are the reigning world champions, defending the title they won so emotionally in Qatar in 2022, the moment that finally delivered Lionel Messi, the one trophy that had eluded him throughout his extraordinary career. Now, in what is universally expected to be his final World Cup, the 38-year-old played what could be his last game on Argentine soil on March 31st, scoring in a 5-0 friendly win over Zambia at La Bombonera. The scenes were deeply emotional, Messi visibly moved, the crowd rapturous, and served as a reminder that the tournament will carry a weight of sentiment unlike anything in recent football history. Whether he starts in the group opener against Algeria on June 16th remains to be confirmed, but his presence in the squad is expected. Argentina have been drawn into Group J alongside Algeria, Austria, and Jordan, a manageable set of opponents for the defending champions, giving them a clear path to the knockout rounds, where the real test will begin. Julian Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez, and Enzo Fernandez give Scaloni side quality beyond Messi. And the squad's collective identity, hardened by years of tournament football together, remains their greatest weapon. The backdrop of the wider world, however, has made preparations for this tournament uniquely complicated. The ongoing United States and Israel military conflict with Iran has created significant regional instability, with tournament's partners and governments involved in intense diplomatic negotiations just weeks before kickoff. For Argentina, the focus remains singular: to become the first nation since Brazil in 1958 and 1962 to retain the World Cup. With Messi's final chapter being written in real time, the whole world will be watching. France. France possessed perhaps the most physically imposing and tactically complete squad in world football. A nation that has won the World Cup in 1998 and 2018, reached the final in 2022 in what many consider the greatest final in the tournament's history, and that consistently produces winning results even when not at their fluid best. Kylian Mbappe is the central figure, a generational talent, who at his peak is as complete an attacking player as the sport has produced. Antoine Griezmann provides creativity and work rate from deeper positions, while Aurelien Tchouameni and Adrien Rabiot provide the engine room. France's defensive unit remains one of the best organized in international football, and their ability to win ugly as much as they win beautifully is what separates elite tournament sides from merely very good ones. Les Bleus head into the 2026 tournament burning from the memory of Qatar, where they trailed Argentina 3-1 in the final, before mounting a stunning fight back, only to lose on penalties. That near miss will fuel this squad throughout the summer. France have been drawn into a group that is competitive but manageable, and Mbappe will be motivated by the knowledge that this is perhaps his greatest opportunity to claim the trophy that would truly cement his legacy among the all-time greats. The geopolitical turbulence surrounding this tournament, particularly the questions around Iran's participation in the co-hosted United States fixtures, adds an unusual layer of complexity to the backdrop. But France have the experience and the internal squad culture to remain focused regardless of what happens around them. If Mbappe is at his electric best, France are not just contenders. They are the team that every other squad in the draw fears most: England. England arrive at the 2026 World Cup with a squad of extraordinary talent and an injury situation that has sent Thomas Tuchel's pre-tournament planning into a state of genuine anxiety. In their final home friendlies before the tournament, a 1-1 draw against Uruguay and a 1-0 defeat to Japan at Wembley, England were missing captain Harry Kane with a minor injury, had Jude Bellingham on the bench as a precaution for a hamstring problem, and were without Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka due to injuries. The result against Japan was England's first ever defeat to the Asian nation, and the performance prompted boos from the Wembley crowd. Tuchel himself admitted the situation was, in his word, scary. England opened their tournament against Croatia on June 17th in Arlington, Texas, and while Kane is expected to be fit, the sheer density of injury concerns heading into the summer is deeply unsettling. Beyond the immediate fitness worries, England faced a genuine selection dilemma in attack and midfield. Phil Foden, who was the best player in the Premier League 2 seasons ago, has had a desperately poor season at Manchester City, and his place in the squad is under serious threat. Cole Palmer and Morgan Rogers are competing for a crucial role behind Kane. The one piece of unambiguously good news is that Marcus Rashford, who has enjoyed a fine season at Barcelona, appears to have rediscovered his best form at the perfect time. England have been drawn into a group alongside Panama, Serbia, and Hungary, a winnable set that should allow them to build momentum. The pressure on Tuchel, who signed a new long-term contract, is enormous, and the ghost of 60 years without a major trophy looms over every session. With the talent available when everyone is fit, England are genuine contenders. Getting them all fit and pointed in the same direction is the challenge that defines this summer. Brazil arrive at the 2026 World Cup with a renewed sense of optimism under the management of Carlo Ancelotti. The legendary Italian coach, whose appointment has transformed the mood around the Selecao after a turbulent period that saw 4 different managers in the cycle since Qatar. Ancelotti's famous winning mentality has infected the squad, and Vinicius Jr. himself has said publicly that Ancelotti calls him regularly and tells him they're going to win the World Cup. However, Vinicius has also been conspicuously honest about where he sees the power in international football right now, naming Portugal, Spain, France, and Argentina as the 4 strongest teams, pointedly leaving Brazil out of his own favorites list. That comment sparked controversy across a football-obsessed nation and illustrates the pressure the Selecao are carrying into this tournament. The attacking unit of Vinicius, Rodrigo, Rafinha, and the emerging Estevão Willian gives Brazil a forward line capable of dismantling any defense in the world on their best day. But questions remain about the midfield structure and whether Ancelotti's favored 4-man attack can function consistently at the highest level of tournament football. The La Liga president, Javier Tebas, has drawn an explicit comparison between the current scrutiny facing Vinicius and the criticism Messi endured before winning the World Cup, urging Brazilian fans to be patient. Meanwhile, the Neymar situation continues to cast a shadow. The 33-year-old has returned to Santos, and Ancelotti has made clear his inclusion is a technical decision, not a guaranteed one. Brazil have not won the World Cup since 2002, a drought of 24 years that gnaws at a nation for whom football is a religion. In North America this summer, they intend to end it. Portugal. Portugal entered the 2026 World Cup as UEFA Nations League champions, having beaten Spain on penalties in the final of the 2025 edition, and in arguably the best collective shape the nation has been in since their Euro 2016 triumph. Bruno Fernandes leads with authority from midfield. Bernardo Silva continues to provide craft and intelligence in the final third, and Rafael Leo's explosive pace and power offer a dimension that few wide forwards anywhere in the world can match. The squad is deeper and more balanced than at any point in recent memory, and confidence within the group is high. Portugal have been drawn into a group alongside Germany, Ghana, and New Zealand, a demanding but navigable set of fixtures that will require genuine quality to navigate. The conversation around Portugal, inevitably, returns to Cristiano Ronaldo. The 41-year-old sustained a hamstring injury playing for Al Nassr in late February and spent over a month on the sidelines. Recent reports indicate he has returned to training and is targeting a comeback around the start of April. And manager Roberto Martinez has made clear the Portugal captaincy remains his. Ronaldo shared an update on social media saying he is, in his words, getting better every day. Whether he is at full fitness and sharpness for a tournament that begins in June remains the key question that every Portuguese football follower is watching with a mixture of hope and anxiety. If Ronaldo is fit and the squad around him continues to perform at the level it has shown in recent competitions, Portugal are capable of going all the way. A nation that has been waiting since 1966, when Eusebio's side finished third, believes this moment may finally have arrived. Netherlands? The Netherlands are one of football's most compelling romantic stories. Three-time World Cup finalists, architects of total football, yet still without a World Cup to their name, under Ronald Koeman or Ronje, have rediscovered a sense of identity and tactical clarity, building from the defensive foundation of Virgil van Dijk while unleashing their considerable attacking talent through Cody Gakpo, Daniel Mellon, and Memphis Depay. Frenkie de Jong, when fit, provides the kind of midfield control that allows the team to breathe and dictate tempo. The Netherlands reached the quarterfinal of the 2022 World Cup and continue to develop as a competitive unit capable of matching the best sides in the tournament. The Dutch have a habit of generating internal drama, whether tactical debates, selection controversies, or high-profile fallings out, and managing those dynamics will be as important as the football itself. But this squad has the experienced leadership and the individual quality to navigate those challenges. A quarterfinal run in Qatar showed their competitive mettle, and the 2026 edition presents a stronger, more mature group. Finishing runners-up 3 times is not a record the Dutch celebrate. They want the gold. The group draw has presented them with a competitive but manageable set of opponents. And if Van Dijk leads the defensive unit with his customary authority and De Jong finds his rhythm at the base of midfield, the Netherlands have every ingredient for a deep run. One of football's longest-running searches for a first world title may finally be approaching its conclusion. Belgium. Belgium's golden generation may be entering its final chapter, but there remains enough quality, experience, and burning motivation in this Diables Rouges squad to make a serious impression on the world stage. Their third-place finish at Russia 2018 remains the high watermark of Belgian football, and several of those key figures, Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, and goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois, are still involved, approaching what could be the last act of their extraordinary international careers. De Bruyne, when fully fit, remains one of the 2 or 3 finest midfielders in the world. His passing range, vision, and ability to unlock defensive structures make him the most dangerous creative force in the Belgian arsenal. Lukaku, similarly, when sharp and motivated, is a physical presence that no central defense in the world fully enjoys dealing with. The transition between Belgium's golden generation and the next wave has been managed somewhat awkwardly over the past few years, and the 2026 World Cup may represent the final opportunity for some of the defining names of this era to deliver the legacy-defining result that has so far proved elusive. The pressure of finally delivering for a nation that has been promised greatness for a decade is immense, but so is the motivation. De Bruyne and Lukaku need no additional incentive. They know what is at stake. Belgium's group draw presents them with a tough, but not impossible path. And if the experienced core can stay healthy and the younger players around them can elevate their performances, the Diables Rouges have the quality to advance deep into the knockout rounds. In their possible final act together, this golden generation of Belgian football has every reason to finally get it right. Germany. Germany are nationally rebuilt and reinvigorated, emerging from a turbulent period, including their shock group stage exit at Russia 2018, into what looks like an exciting new era of attacking, expressive football. The 2024 European Championship, hosted at home in Germany, provided the platform. Die Mannschaft played with a freedom and creativity that captured the public's imagination, reaching the quarterfinals before a controversial exit. The duo of Florian Wirtz and Jamal Musiala, 2 of the most gifted young attacking midfielders in world football, gives Germany a creative core that has genuine potential to dominate games at the highest level. Joshua Kimmich remains the heartbeat of the team, his intelligence and leadership providing the axis around which everything else is built. Germany have been drawn into Group E alongside Portugal, Ghana, and New Zealand, a demanding group that could produce one of the tournament's most compelling early storylines, with a potential Germany versus Portugal clash carrying enormous weight. Die Mannschaft know how to win World Cups. They have done it 4 times. And that winning culture is embedded in their DNA even through the recent lean years. With Wirtz and Musiala approaching their peak simultaneously, and with a squad that blends their creative brilliance with the tactical discipline Germany are famous for, the 2026 World Cup could mark the moment this rebuilt generation announces itself on the grandest stage. They are not yet the finished article, but in tournament football, Timing is everything, and by the time June comes around, Germany intend to be ready. Croatia. Croatia arrived at the 2026 World Cup in the middle of what everyone agrees is Luka Modric's final international tournament, and yet, remarkably, the 40-year-old is still pulling strings at the highest level, having left Real Madrid last summer. After winning 28 trophies at the club, Modric joined AC Milan and continues to captain his country with the same authority and intelligence that has defined Croatian football for a generation. Carlo Ancelotti, his former manager at Real Madrid, described him this week ahead of a friendly between Brazil and Croatia as, in his words, one of the best players he has ever coached, a spectacular professional unlike any other in the world. Croatia lost that friendly 2-1, with Modric himself remaining philosophical, insisting that the result is not the real indicator of what is to come. He has said that before. He has always been right. Croatia's group draw has placed them in Group L alongside England, Ghana, and Panama, a genuinely challenging set of opponents that will test the depth of a squad in transition. Josko Gvardiol, one of the most exciting young defenders in world football, is in a race against time to be fit for the finals after suffering a tibial fracture in January, and his absence would be a significant blow to Croatia's defensive organization. The next generation is there. Peter Sušić and Franjo Ivanović, both 22, have emerged as exciting prospects capable of carrying Croatian football beyond the Modric era. But for now, the era continues. This is Modric's 5th World Cup, and the whole footballing world wants to see him go out on top. Croatia, as ever, will compete until the very last moment of the very last game. And that should never, ever be underestimated. Morocco. Morocco arrived at the 2026 World Cup as the team that rewrote African football history in Qatar, becoming the first African and first Arab nation to reach the semifinal of a World Cup. They defeated Spain and Portugal along the way in what remains one of the most extraordinary runs in the tournament's recent memory. Now, with the new head coach having taken over after Walid Regragui stepped aside, the Atlas Lions must find a way to replicate that extraordinary cohesion under fresh leadership. The squad remains formidable. Achraf Hakimi, the Paris Saint-Germain right back who is among the finest players in his position anywhere in the world, leads a group of players performing consistently in Europe's top leagues. Morocco won all 8 of their KFE qualifying matches, scoring 22 goals and conceding just 2. A record that speaks to the quality and consistency of this team. Morocco's group draw, however, has produced one of the tournament's most mouth-watering early storylines. They have been placed in Group C alongside Brazil. The two teams will face each other in their opening fixture in Miami on June 15th, a match that pits African football standard bearers against the nation of 5 World Cups. The Atlas Lions have also been drawn with Scotland and Haiti, making this a genuinely competitive group where nothing can be taken for granted. Adding a layer of controversy to Morocco's preparations, the team has been managing the fallout from the Africa Cup of Nations final in January, where they were beaten by Senegal, a defeat that led directly to Regragui's exit and created uncertainty around the coaching structure. Coach Mohamed Wabi, who has taken charge, insisted this week that the squad is fully focused on the World Cup, following a 2-1 friendly win over Paraguay. Morocco are not here to make up the numbers. They are here to go further than they did in Qatar. Colombia head into the 2026 World Cup off the back of one of the most encouraging qualification campaigns in their recent history, finishing 3rd in CONMEBOL, qualifying with a squad that reached the Copa America final in 2024, losing narrowly to Argentina. Los Cafeteros are a team with genuine attacking quality throughout. Anchored by Luis Diaz's explosive Premier League pace down the left and the youthful energy of a squad that has grown considerably in maturity and ambition under coach Nestor Lorenzo. The question that has dominated the Colombian football conversation heading into this tournament, however, is the fitness and sharpness of James Rodriguez. The 34-year-old captain signed for Minnesota United in MLS in February on a short-term deal designed specifically to keep him match fit through to June. His debut with the club was disrupted, a 6-0 defeat to Vancouver Whitecaps on a night. He came on late with the result already beyond reach, but he was called up for Colombia's March friendlies against Croatia and France, signaling continued faith from the coaching staff. Colombia's group draw has served up one of the most eagerly anticipated individual matchups of the entire tournament. Group K places them alongside Portugal, meaning a Cristiano Ronaldo versus James Rodriguez. Showdown is confirmed. The clash between the two veterans, both likely appearing at their final World Cup, has reportedly become the single most requested match of the entire tournament. with extraordinary global ticket demand. Colombia also faced Uzbekistan and the Intercontinental Playoff winner in their group. If James can find his rhythm at Minnesota and arrive in the summer properly match fit, Colombia have the talent and the tournament experience to make a deep run. The Copa America final showed they belong at this level. The World Cup offers the chance to prove it on the grandest stage. Uruguay. Uruguay head into the 2026 World Cup having just demonstrated, in a 1-1 draw with England at Wembley during the March international break, exactly what this team is capable of. Federico Valverde converted a stoppage time penalty to rescue the result, a moment that perfectly encapsulated everything about this Uruguayan team. They are organized, they are combative, they are difficult to break down, and when the moment comes, they produce. Valverde has grown into one of the finest all-action midfielders in world football during his time at Real Madrid, and he is the axis around which everything Uruguay build revolves. Darwin Nunez gives them explosive pace and physical presence up front. Ronald Araujo and Jose Maria Gimenez form one of South America's most imposing central defensive partnerships, and the collective spirit that defines Uruguay has never wavered. Uruguay's group draw has produced one of the most intriguing stories of the tournament. Group H places La Celeste alongside Spain, Saudi Arabia, and Cape Verde. The June 26 clash between Uruguay and Spain will be the group's defining fixture. Two of the tournament's most formidable sides, colliding in Zapopan, Mexico, in what promises to be a genuine statement game for both nations. Uruguay's primary aim is to advance from the group comfortably against Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde, before going toe-to-toe with the world's top-ranked side. One concern that emerged from the England friendly was the injury suffered by left back Joaquin Piqueres, who appeared to sustain a serious ankle problem after a challenge with Noni Madueke. If he misses the tournament, it creates a genuine problem on the left side that Néstor Lorenzo will need to solve. But Uruguay with Valverde fit and Darwin Nunez firing is a team capable of going all the way to the final week of this tournament. Switzerland. Switzerland are one of the most reliably competitive nations in international football, a team that has not missed a World Cup since 2002, and that consistently reaches the knockout stages through a combination of exceptional tactical organization, collective discipline, and the ability to produce results against theoretically superior opponents. Under Murat Yakin, the Swiss have developed a genuinely coherent and difficult to play against identity, and their 4-1 thrashing of Sweden during qualifying was a reminder to anyone who had begun taking them for granted that the Swiss are nobody's idea of a soft touch. Granit Xhaka leads with authority and experience. Dan Doy provides energy and directness from the flanks. Gabriel Embolo is a proven goal scorer at international level who can punish mistakes with a clinical efficiency. Switzerland's group draw has placed them in Group B alongside Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Qatar, a manageable but by no means straightforward set of opponents. Canada's co-hosting advantages and the quality of their squad make them the group's standout side, but Switzerland will be quietly confident of navigating their way through. The Swiss sealed their qualification on the final match day with a 1-1 draw in Kosovo, the kind of controlled, nerves of steel performance that reflects everything about how Yakin's side operates. They do not dazzle, they do not create headlines, they simply compete, and they advance. Switzerland have reached the knockout rounds of 5 consecutive major tournaments, a record of consistency that should not be dismissed because it lacks glamour. In a World Cup where composure under pressure wins games, the Swiss know exactly who they are. That self-knowledge is worth more than any individual superstar. Japan are the great Asian success story of the modern World Cup era. A team that defeated both Germany and Spain in the group stage of Qatar 2022 in one of the tournament's most extraordinary upsets, and that has continued to develop its collective quality and tactical sophistication under coach Hajime Ryasu in the years since. Their high-pressing, ultra-organized style, executed by a squad almost entirely based at leading European clubs, gives them an intensity that overwhelms opponents who are not prepared for it. Just this week, Japan produced another statement result, a 1-0 victory over England at Wembley, their first ever win against the Three Lions, decided by a fine first-half goal from Kaoru Mitoma. It was a performance that raised fresh questions about England's readiness for the summer, while simultaneously reminding the world that Japan are an absolutely genuine threat at this tournament. Japan's group draw has placed them in Group F alongside the Netherlands, Sweden, and Tunisia, a demanding set of opponents that will test their ceiling against European quality. The Netherlands game, in particular, will be watched around the world as a measure of how far this Japanese generation has come. Take Fusakubo of Real Sociedad is the most technically gifted of the current generation, and the squad around him has genuine quality across multiple positions. Japan's victory over England this week was not only significant in isolation, it came in England's final home fixture before Tuchel names his World Cup squad, leaving the English management in crisis mode and sending a message to every team in the tournament that the Samurai Blue are ready. Their ambition heading into North America is clear and explicit: to go further than the quarterfinal for the first time in their history, to build on Qatar, and to prove that Asian football has truly arrived at the sport's very highest level. Senegal arrive at the 2026 World Cup as Africa Cup of Nations champions, having won the January 2025 edition, beating Morocco in the final in a result that sent shockwaves through African football, ended Walid Regragui's tenure as Morocco coach, and confirmed Senegal's status as the continent's premier football nation. The Lions of Teranga are a squad of extraordinary physical power, collective energy, and growing technical sophistication, built around one of the sport's most enduring talismans in Sadio Mane. The 33-year-old remains a decisive presence in the final third. His experience, leadership, and ability to conjure moments of brilliance in tight situations making him one of the most important players his country has ever produced. The squad around him has developed considerably, with players competing in top European leagues giving Senegal a technical level that previous generations could not match. Senegal's group draw has produced the most difficult immediate fixture imaginable. Group I places them directly against France in their opening game on June 16th at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, a rematch of the 2002 World Cup group stage, where Senegal produced one of the tournament's all-time great upsets in defeating the defending champions France on their debut World Cup appearance, will capture the imagination of football fans across the world. France versus Senegal in a World Cup group game is one of the most historically resonant matchups this tournament could have produced, and the stakes are enormous. Senegal also faced Norway and the Intercontinental Playoff winner in Group I. The Sadio Mane versus Erling Haaland fixture against Norway will be another marquee event. Can Bivin Pratley to keep Senegal have the quality, the spirit, and the African continental title of the Fiesta. This could be their deepest World Cup run yet. South Korea. The Dukuk Warriors have qualified for every World Cup since 1986, and the current generation, led by Son Heung-min of Tottenham Hotspur, is widely regarded as the most technically gifted in the country's history. Son's ability to cut inside on his left foot, his pace, his intelligence in the final third, and his leadership make him the defining figure of Korean football at this moment. And at 31, he is approaching what may be his peak tournament opportunity. South Korea have been drawn into Group A alongside Mexico, South Africa, and Czechia, a genuinely competitive group where nothing is guaranteed, but where progression to the knockout rounds is the clear and reasonable target. The opening fixture against Czechia in Guadalajara. Mexico on June 11th is the tournament's very first kickoff alongside Mexico versus South Africa, which means South Korea will be in action on the very first day of the World Cup. Lee King provides creative quality alongside Son, and a growing number of European-based Korean players give the squad technical depth and tournament experience that previous generations lacked. The current political turbulence surrounding this World Cup, particularly the uncertainty over Iran and the broader geopolitical tensions involving the United States, has added unusual complexity to the tournament's backdrop. For South Korea, the focus is simply on football and on delivering the performance that their passionate supporters deserve. Ecuador announced themselves to a global audience at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar by winning the tournament's opening match against hosts Qatar, a result that set the tone for one of their most impressive international campaigns in recent memory. Le Tri have since continued to develop, qualifying comfortably for 2026 and arriving with a squad that blends the experienced leadership of players like Enner Valencia with the world-class midfield quality of Moises Caicedo, the Chelsea midfielder, now one of the most expensive players in Premier League history, following his move to Stamford Bridge, has developed into one of the finest defensive midfielders in English football. His energy, his ball-winning ability, and his growing technical quality make him a genuinely elite performer who gives Ecuador a player capable of imposing himself on any game at any level. Ecuador's group draw has produced a genuinely difficult opening to the tournament. Group E places them alongside Germany, Ivory Coast, and Curaçao, and the fixture against Germany on June 25th in East Rutherford, New Jersey will be one of the most eagerly anticipated matchups of the group stage. Ecuador's preparation has been solid, and their South American qualification record suggests a team that is consistent and difficult to dismantle. The question is whether they have enough quality in the final third beyond Valencia, who approaches this tournament in the later stages of his career, to consistently create and convert chances against the level of opposition Group E represents. Germany and Ivory Coast are not opponents that forgive defensive errors or lack of attacking ambition. But if Caicedo can dominate the midfield and Ecuador can stay organized, they are fully capable of claiming the points they need to advance from this group. Austria? Austria are one of European football's most improved sides over the past several years. A nation that has quietly assembled a squad of genuine quality and earned their place in Pot 2 through sustained and impressive performances. They reached the knockout rounds of Euro 2024, and their football under their coaching staff has developed a coherent identity, pressing with aggression, playing with technical quality, and showing a confidence that was rarely associated with Austrian football in previous decades. Marcel Sabitzer provides the midfield drive and leadership, and David Alaba, when fit, remains one of the most accomplished defenders of his generation. His intelligence and composure at Real Madrid have made him a player of genuine world-class quality, and his presence in an Austrian shirt elevates the entire defensive structure. Austria's group draw, however, has served up about the most challenging possible opening to a World Cup. Group J places them alongside defending champions Argentina, Algeria, and Jordan. Their June 22nd fixture against Argentina is the definition of a baptism of fire, going up against Messi and the world champions in only their second group game of the tournament. That said, Austria have proven they are nobody's pushover at this level, and the expanded 48-team format means that even a third-place finish in the group, if it is good enough, can advance a team to the knockout rounds. Austria know how to organize and how to compete against elite opposition. They showed that at Euro 2024. The pressure will be immense, the occasion enormous, and the challenge steep. But Austrian football is in a better position than it has been for a generation, and this squad will not be there simply to make up the numbers. Australia's quarterfinal run at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, defeating Denmark in the round of 16, before pushing eventual champions Argentina to extra time, reignited football passion across the country and gave the Socceroos a platform of belief and momentum that they carry directly into 2026. The squad has continued to develop under coach Graham Arnold, who said after qualifying for the tournament that he would, in his own words, dust off his cowboy hat, a reference to the North American setting and a reflection of the lighter mood around a group that has genuinely earned its place at this level. Matt Ryan provides experienced goalkeeping leadership. Matthew Leckie continues to bring pace and work rate from the flanks, and the growing number of Australian players in European leagues means the squad's overall technical ceiling has risen considerably. Australia's group draw has placed them in Group D alongside the United States, Paraguay, and Turkey, a genuinely difficult set of opponents in which every point will need to be earned. Facing the co-hosts in their second group game on June 19th in Seattle adds the additional challenge of playing against a crowd that will be overwhelmingly partisan. But the Socceroos have never been intimidated by atmosphere or occasion. Their performance against Argentina in Qatar, in front of a sea of light blue and white, was evidence of that. The expanded format of the 2026 World Cup, with 32 teams advancing from the group stage, means Australia's target is achievable. A third-place finish in the group might be enough to keep them alive. The Socceroos know what it takes to win a knockout game at this level. If they can reproduce the discipline and belief of Qatar, the round of 32 is well within reach. Norway returned to the World Cup for the first time since 1998, and they do so carrying the most dangerous striker on the planet. Erling Haaland scored 16 goals in 8 qualifying matches, equaling the European record for a single qualifying campaign, set by Robert Lewandowski, and Norway won all 8 of their group games to seal their place with a perfect record. Landon Donovan described Norway as a top Pot 2 team in disguise, and the whole footballing world agrees that the ranking does not reflect the threat they represent. However, both Haaland and Martin Odegaard have had disrupted recent weeks. Haaland has managed just 5 goals in 19 games for Manchester City since the turn of the year, and Odegaard has been sidelined since mid-February with a knee injury, missing Norway's March friendlies entirely. His absence led to Haaland captaining the side, but the Arsenal midfielder is targeting a return around the FA Cup quarterfinal, hopefully leaving him fit for the summer. Norway have been drawn into what many are calling one of the 2 groups of death of this tournament. Group I places them alongside France, Senegal, and Iraq, An extraordinary set of opponents that means Norway must beat one of the tournament's heavyweight sides simply to advance. The headline fixture of the entire group stage is June 26th in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Norway versus France, Haaland versus Mbappe, the two biggest individual attractions of their footballing generation meeting on the international stage for the very first time. If Odegaard is fit and Haaland is firing, Norway can beat anyone in that group on their day. If either is below par, the journey could end the group stage. That is the high-wire tension surrounding this team. The most dangerous pot, 3-draw anyone could imagine, and the most exciting individual matchup the tournament has to offer, Panama. Panama are back at the World Cup for the second time in their history, having made their debut at Russia 2018, a qualification that was celebrated with national scenes of extraordinary joy that went viral around the world. Los Canaleros are a team built on collective spirit, defensive organization, and the fighting qualities of a nation that knows exactly what it means to earn a place on football's grandest stage. They will not dazzle anyone with technical brilliance or attacking invention, but they will compete in every duel, defend with their lives, and make opponents work for every single chance. Their CONCACAF qualifying campaign demonstrated exactly those qualities: disciplined, hardworking, and ruthlessly efficient at turning dog performances into the points they needed. Panama have been drawn into Group L alongside England, Croatia, and Ghana, as difficult a group as any Pot 4 team could receive. Their opening fixtures on June 17th against Ghana in Toronto, and the second group game against England on June 23rd will be the Wembley crowd's favorite before they even kick a ball. Panama's realistic target is to be competitive in every game, to make opponents work for 90 minutes, and to give their passionate supporters at least one moment to savor the geopolitical turbulence surrounding this tournament, particularly the ongoing uncertainty over Iran's participation and the broader instability in the region, has created an unusual backdrop for all teams preparing in these final weeks. Panama will filter out all of that noise and focus on what they do best: defending with discipline, pressing with energy, and making the most of any opportunity that comes their way. Egypt head into the 2026 World Cup in the middle of one of the most seismic off-field moments in the career of their greatest ever player. Mohamed Salah announced on March 24th, 2026, that he will leave Liverpool at the end of this season after 9 legendary years at Anfield, a departure that ends one of the Premier League's most extraordinary individual chapters. His next destination remains uncertain, with Saudi Arabian clubs, MLS, and several European sides all linked. Egypt's national team coach has publicly warned Salah not to move to MLS, insisting in colorful terms that nobody would remember him if he did, a comment that sparked controversy across the football world. Salah also missed Egypt's March international window with a minor muscle injury sustained in the Champions League against Galatasaray. Egypt's group draw has placed them in Group G alongside Belgium and the team that occupies Iran's spot, which, depending on the resolution of the ongoing geopolitical crisis, may be Iran itself, the UAE, or another replacement. The situation surrounding Iran's participation remains unresolved as of today, and FIFA's decision at its April 30th Congress in Vancouver will be critical. If Iran do withdraw, Egypt could find Group G significantly more navigable. Regardless of what happens around them, Egypt's tournament ambitions are clear: to advance from the group stage for the first time in their history, a target that has eluded them in every previous World Cup appearance. Salah will captain the Pharaohs regardless of where he is playing club football by then, and as long as he is fit, Egypt have a player capable of winning any individual game on his own. The World Cup will be a defining chapter in a remarkable career, and Salah will want it to end in the knockout rounds. Algeria arrive at the 2026 World Cup with a squad that has been carefully rebuilt since their disappointing exit from the 2022 tournament, a campaign that never lived up to the expectations of a nation that had qualified with such momentum. The Fennec Foxes are a 2-time Africa Cup of Nations champions with a deep footballing culture and a large diaspora in France and across Europe that produces a steady stream of technically educated players. Riyad Mahrez, though now in the latter stages of his career, following his move to the Saudi Pro League, continues to be available for the national team and brings with him an individual quality and creativity that can unlock any defense on his day. The squad around him is developed through the French academy system, giving Algeria a technical foundation that previous generations could only have dreamed of. Algeria's group draw has produced one of the tournament's most dramatic opening fixtures: Group J places them against defending champions, Argentina, in their very first game on June 16th in Kansas City. A match that pits an African nation rich in footballing tradition directly against the world's best team, and potentially against Lionel Messi in his final World Cup game on American soil. Historically, the fixture carries enormous resonance. It was Algeria, who, at the 1982 World Cup in Spain, produced one of the great upsets of that era. The draw also includes Austria and Jordan, making Group J one of the more open groups in the tournament. If Algeria can avoid defeat against Argentina, or better yet, replicate the magic of '82, they will be well placed to advance. Their African continental quality is well established. The question at every World Cup is whether they can channel that quality consistently over 3 knockout round level performances. Scotland. Scotland ended a 28-year exile from the World Cup stage. Their last appearance was in France, 1998, and they do so in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. On the final match day of European qualifying, Scotland needed to beat Denmark outright, while Denmark would have advanced with the draw. Trailing 2-2 against 10 men with the clock running out, Scotland scored twice in stoppage time, through Kieran Tierney and Kenny McLean, to win 4-2 in one of the most extraordinary nights in Scottish football history. The Tartan Army erupted. Andy Robertson, the Liverpool captain who leads this Scotland generation with such distinction, described it as the greatest night of his international career. The squad has genuine quality. Robertson at left back is a world-class performer. Scott McTominay brings Premier League energy and physicality to midfield, and a generation of technically capable forwards has given Scotland more attacking threat than they have possessed in decades. Scotland's reward for that miraculous qualification is a group that has drawn gasps from football fans around the world. Group C places them alongside Brazil, Morocco, and Haiti, meaning their very first World Cup game in nearly 3 decades is against Haiti on June 13th in Boston, before they face Morocco and then Brazil. The Brazil fixture on June 24th in Miami will be one of the most watched group stage games of the entire tournament, a clash between one of the world's most celebrated football nations and a country returning to the global stage after a generation away, playing in front of what will surely be one of the most passionate and emotional Scottish followings in history. Scotland's target is first and foremost to be competitive, to show that their place in this tournament was earned, and that the Tartan Army's long wait was worthwhile. Anything more than that will be celebrated as historic. Paraguay. Paraguay returned to the World Cup for the first time in 16 years, their last appearance having been at South Africa 2010, where they reached the quarterfinals before losing to eventual champion Spain. Los Guaraníes qualified from a fiercely competitive C, O, N, M, E, B, OL group that eliminated several more fancied nations, and their presence in North America is a testament to the fighting qualities and tactical resilience that have always defined Paraguayan football. Miguel Almiron, the energetic Atlanta United midfielder, brings his MLS experience and Premier League pedigree to a squad that combines domestic talent with players forged in European competition. Paraguay are not built to dazzle, they are built to defend with discipline, press with intensity, and punish opponents who are not switched on from the very first minute. Paraguay's group draw has placed them directly against co-host the United States in the opening game on June 12th at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. The very first match of Group D played in front of what will be a capacity American crowd of over 70,000. It is the kind of occasion that could be overwhelming for a team returning to the World Cup after 16 years, or it could be the match that defines their whole campaign. Paraguay will also face Australia and Turkey, making Group D genuinely competitive for all 4 sides. The political context of this tournament, with the United States at the center of a geopolitical conflict involving Iran, adds an additional layer of complexity to the atmosphere around these games. For Paraguay, none of that matters. They will organize, they will fight, and they will make every single opponent earn every single point. That is the Paraguayan way, and 16 years has done nothing to change it. Tunisia are Africa's most consistent World Cup qualifiers, appearing in 6 tournaments across their history, and the Eagles of Carthage arrive in North America, with a squad experienced enough to know exactly what is required at this level. Their most celebrated recent result at a World Cup came in Qatar 2022, where they beat France 1-0, admittedly in a dead rubber with the rotated French side. But a win against the world's best players is a win regardless of context. Tunisia plays structured, disciplined football built around a well-organized defensive block and players who understand their roles and execute them with commitment. The squad is formed largely around players performing in French and Belgian football, giving them a technical grounding and tactical education that previous Tunisian generations lacked. Tunisia have been drawn into Group F alongside the Netherlands, Japan, and Sweden, a group where every point will be genuinely contested and where no result can be taken for granted. The fixture list presents Tunisia with an opening game against Sweden in Monterrey, Mexico on June 14th, a winnable game against a nation making their return to the World Cup, followed by the more daunting tests of Japan and the Netherlands. The expanded format of this tournament, with the 8 best third-place teams also advancing to the knockout round of 32, means Tunisia do not necessarily need to finish in the top 2 to stay alive. A strong third-place showing, backed by their defensive solidity, is an achievable target. Tunisia's holy grail remains that first-ever knockout round appearance, and in 2026, the conditions, an expanded field, manageable opponents, and the experience of a squad that has been through multiple tournaments have never been more favorable. Ivory Coast? Ivory Coast arrive at the 2026 World Cup as the reigning Africa Cup of Nations champions, having won the 2024 edition on home soil, coming from behind in multiple knockout games and scenes of extraordinary drama that produced some of the most emotional images African football has seen in years. The Elephants have not been to a World Cup since 2014, making this a long-awaited return for a nation with an enormous footballing culture. Sebastian Haller, the Borussia Dortmund striker who overcame a serious cancer diagnosis in 2022 to return to top-level football, leads the attack with strength, technique, and the kind of personal story that resonates far beyond sport. Simon Adingra of Brighton has emerged as one of the most exciting wide forwards in African football, his pace and directness causing problems for any defensive line he faces. Ivory Coast have been placed in Group E alongside Germany, Ecuador, and Curaçao, a genuinely demanding group that pits the AFCON champions against one of the tournament's most improved European sides. Their opening fixture on June 14th in Philadelphia against Ecuador will be a critical first test, with the Germany match on June 20th in Toronto representing the group's defining contest for both nations. Germany's young and expressive squad, led by Wurtsim Musiala, presents a different tactical problem from anything Ivory Coast regularly face in African competition, and adapting to the pace and technical intensity of elite European football will be the challenge. But Ivory Coast are not short of quality. Their squad has players at top European clubs, and the AFCON triumph has given them a collective belief that can carry them a long way. A quarterfinal run would be the greatest achievement in Ivorian football history since the Drogba era, and this group has the quality to make it happen. Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan make their debut on the World Cup stage, an achievement that represents the culmination of years of patient development and a remarkable rise through the Asian Football Confederation's rankings. The White Wolves qualified directly from the AFC Round 3 group stage, finishing second behind Iran, in a campaign that announced to the continent that Central Asian football is capable of competing with the region's established powers. Their qualification is a story of genuine football development, investment in coaching, youth academies, and a growing pipeline of players developed through Central Asian football, and increasingly through competitions across South Korea and Eastern Europe. The squad is well organized, physically competitive, and plays with the confidence and belief that first-time qualifier status rarely affords. Uzbekistan have been drawn into what could be described as one of the most fascinating groups in the tournament. Group K pairs them alongside Portugal, Colombia, and Dakar Congo, a collection of teams that includes a 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo seeking one last moment of World Cup glory, and a James Rodriguez versus Ronaldo showdown that has been confirmed as the most ticketed fixture of the entire tournament. Their opening game on June 17th is against Colombia at the Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, a historic and intimidating venue for any team's World Cup debut. The June 23rd fixture against Portugal will be the group's most emotionally charged occasion. Uzbekistan will be outranked on paper in every game they play, but Asian qualifying proved they are nobody's walkover, playing without fear, with the freedom of a team that has already achieved the impossible simply by being there. Uzbekistan will give every opponent in Group K a game to remember. Qatar. Qatar returned to the World Cup having previously appeared as hosts in 2022, a tournament where they became the first host nation in the modern era to be eliminated in the group stage without a single victory. Having now qualified through the Asian Football Confederation's competitive qualifying rounds, earning their place on merit rather than automatic host berth, winning the Round 4 group ahead of Saudi Arabia, Qatar's participation in 2026 carries legitimacy and significance that their previous appearance, however historic, did not fully possess. Akram Afif, who won the Asian Cup Golden Boot, and Almos Ali lead a squad developed through the Aspire Academy, the jewel of Qatar's football infrastructure investment. Qatar have been drawn into Group B alongside Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Switzerland, the most manageable group their draw could have produced. Canada's advantages as co-hosts and Switzerland's tournament experience make them the group's two favorites, but Qatar will not be there simply to make up the numbers. Their June 13th opener against Switzerland in the San Francisco Bay Area is a game they will approach with genuine ambition, knowing that a result against a Pot 2 side would transform their group position immediately. Qatar's preparations have been complicated by the wider geopolitical situation surrounding this tournament. The ongoing United States military conflict with Iran, which killed Iran's supreme leader and created the most significant diplomatic challenge FIFA has faced at a World Cup since the Cold War boycotts, has unsettled the entire region and affected the preparations of multiple Middle Eastern nations. Qatar will want to focus entirely on football, and for the first time, on showing what they can do when the tournament is not taking place in their own backyard, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia carry into the 2026 World Cup the extraordinary memory of the greatest upset of Qatar 2022. The 2-1 victory over defending champions Argentina that stopped the world, sent Lionel Messi into disbelief, and announced to global audiences that Saudi football was capable of things nobody had fully anticipated. To Salem Al Dawsari's wonder goal to complete that comeback is one of the most watched moments in World Cup history, and it defines the benchmark against which this squad now measures itself. Hervé Renard, who orchestrated that famous victory, has returned as manager after stepping away, a decision that has galvanized the squad and restored the tactical identity and collective belief that faded in the period following Qatar. The Saudi Pro League's transformation into one of the world's most watched leagues, with Ronaldo, Benzema, Neymar, and others attracting global attention, has raised the profile of Saudi football and created an environment of investment and ambition. Saudi Arabia have been drawn into Group H alongside Spain, Uruguay, and Cape Verde, as difficult a group as they could have received. Opening against Uruguay on June 15th in Miami, and then facing Spain on June 21st in Atlanta, means Saudi Arabia must produce performances of the very highest level simply to survive the group stage. The Iran situation casts a shadow over their region as well. Saudi Arabia has been directly targeted by Iranian retaliatory strikes in the ongoing conflict, and multiple players in the Saudi squad have had their preparations affected by the broader regional instability. Despite all of that, the football remains the focus. The Green Falcons have already shown once that they can defeat the world's best. In Group H, surrounded by genuine quality, they will need to find that level again, and if they do, the whole world will be watching. South Africa. South Africa returned to the World Cup for the first time since hosting the 2010 edition, 16 years away from the global stage for a nation that showed the world how to throw a football party, and that now gets the chance to show what it can do as a competitor rather than a host. Bafana qualified ahead of nations with greater resources and historical pedigree, and their presence in North America is a genuine celebration of South African football's development and resilience. The opening match of the entire 2026 World Cup on June 11th in Mexico City is a remarkable historical echo. South Africa against Mexico, a direct replay of the 2010 World Cup's opening fixture. The Lawrence Tasha Thunderbolt gave South Africa one of the most emotionally charged moments in their football history. The significance of that repeat opening draw has not been lost on South African supporters. South Africa have been placed in Group A alongside Mexico, South Korea, and Czechia, a navigable group where advancing to the knockout rounds is a realistic and genuine target. Their opening fixture, as noted, is against co-host Mexico in front of 80,000 at the Estadio Azteca, one of football's most intimidating atmospheres and extraordinary stage for their World Cup return. Percy Tau leads the attack with the quality and experience of a player who has performed in top European and African football. And the squad has developed considerably under coach Hugo Broos. The political context of this tournament adds its own dimensions. South Africa is a nation that understands the power of sport as a diplomatic and cultural force better than almost any other on earth. Having hosted the World Cup itself in 2010 and hosted the Rugby World Cup too, returning to the global stage in front of billions of viewers is a moment the Rainbow Nation will embrace with everything it has: Jordan. Jordan's qualification for the 2026 World Cup is the most significant achievement in the history of Jordanian football. a landmark moment for a nation that has been quietly developing its football infrastructure and talent pipeline for years without ever quite breaking through to the global stage. The Nshama, as the national team is affectionately known, navigated the highly competitive Asian Football Confederation qualifying rounds with a combination of defensive resilience, tactical discipline, and the quality of a squad that has grown considerably in depth and ambition. For a country where football competes with basketball and other sports for cultural dominance, this qualification represents a genuine watershed moment. Jordan will approach their debut World Cup with the wide-eyed ambition of a nation experiencing the tournament for the first time, but also with the tactical sophistication of a team that has earned its place through competitive qualifying. Simply competing on the global stage is historic. But the players and coaching staff will not be satisfied with merely making up the numbers. They will prepare meticulously for every opponent, execute their game plan with discipline, and give Jordanian football supporters genuine moments of pride to celebrate. A first World Cup point or victory would be celebrated across the kingdom as one of the nation's greatest sporting achievements. Cape Verde. Cape Verde are one of African football's most remarkable success stories. An archipelago nation of just 500,000 people that has punched so far above its weight in international football that it has become a source of genuine inspiration for small nations everywhere. The Blue Sharks have risen from virtual obscurity to become a consistent presence at the Africa Cup of Nations, performing competitively against far larger and better resourced nations through a combination of extraordinary collective spirit, tactical discipline, and the leveraging of a large diaspora population in Portugal, the Netherlands, and beyond. Their qualification for the 2026 World Cup is a historic first and a source of immense national pride. Cape Verde's World Cup debut is a celebration of what small nations can achieve when they combine passionate football culture, intelligent player development through diaspora networks, and a collective spirit that transcends the limitations of their resources. They will face opponents significantly better resourced and more experienced at this level, but the Blue Sharks have made a habit of defying expectations throughout their rise up the FIFA rankings. If they can organize defensively and hit teams on the counter with the pace and technical quality their diaspora players possess, Cape Verde are capable of being competitive and even stealing a result that would echo around the football world. Ghana? Ghana are one of African football's most celebrated and storied nations, a country with a passionate football culture and a track record of producing world-class talent that belies the continent's broader footballing challenges. The Black Stars reached the quarterfinals of the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the first African nation to reach that stage on African soil, losing to Uruguay in one of the tournament's most controversial moments, a handball by Luis Suarez on the goal line that denied Ghana a place in the last four and provoked fury and heartbreak across the continent. That near miss remains a defining moment in African football history, and the desire to go one step further has driven Ghanaian ambition ever since. Ghana's recent World Cup record has been mixed. The extraordinary near miss of 2010 was followed by disappointing group stage exits. But the current squad has the quality and the motivation to restore the Black Stars to the prominence their football culture deserves. The 2026 tournament offers a fresh opportunity with a group of players who are either at or approaching their prime and who have the experience of competing at the highest levels of European club football. Advancing from the group stage and potentially replicating or surpassing the 2010 achievement would cement this generation's legacy and reignite the passion of a nation that has always believed it deserves to be among football's elite. Curaçao were perhaps the most surprising qualifier for the 2026 World Cup. A small Caribbean island nation with a population of just 150,000 people that has leveraged its Dutch colonial heritage and a remarkable pool of diaspora talent to compete effectively in CONCACAF, qualifying and earn a place on the world's biggest stage. The elevation of Curaçao from a minor footballing footnote to a World Cup participant is a story of extraordinary ambition, clever player recruitment through the Dutch footballing system, and the inspiration of a small nation daring to dream impossibly large. Their presence in North America for the tournament will be celebrated with the kind of joy that only a true underdog story can generate. Curaçao's World Cup debut will be a celebration first and foremost, a tiny island nation on the grandest stage in sport, representing not just their 150,000 inhabitants, but the broader Caribbean footballing community and everyone who has ever believed that small places can produce big dreams. They will face opponents of significantly greater resources and experience in every group game, and advancing from the group stage would require something approaching a miracle. But miracles happen at World Cups, and Curaçao will compete with everything they have, play the football they believe in, and give their nation a World Cup experience to treasure for generations regardless of the results. Haiti. Haiti's qualification for the 2026 World Cup is a story of footballing resilience that mirrors the broader Haitian experience. A nation that has faced extraordinary challenges and hardships, but that has consistently found ways to compete, to persevere, and to produce individuals of remarkable quality against seemingly impossible odds. Les Grenadiers have a tradition of CONCACAF competition and have produced players who have gone on to distinguish careers in European and American professional football. But reaching the World Cup represents a step beyond anything Haitian football has previously achieved on the global stage. It is a source of genuine national pride and a celebration of a football culture that has refused to be diminished. Haiti will approach the 2026 World Cup as one of the tournament's greatest underdogs, a nation competing through sheer force of collective will and footballing passion against opponents with infinitely greater resources and international experience. Every point they earn will be celebrated as a historic achievement, and the tournament will give Haitian football the global exposure and inspiration it needs to continue developing. In a group stage where anything can happen, Haiti's combination of diaspora quality, collective fighting spirit, and the desperate desire to make their suffering nation proud could produce a result or a performance that resonates far beyond the football pitch. New Zealand? New Zealand are the dominant force in Oceanian football and regular qualifiers for the World Cup through the OFC pathway. A nation where football occupies a complex and contested space alongside the overwhelmingly dominant rugby union culture. The All Whites, as the national team is known, have shown at previous World Cups that they are capable of competing effectively against more established footballing nations. Their unbeaten record at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, where they drew all 3 group games, including against Italy, remains the benchmark of their tournament achievements. New Zealand played with a combination of physical athleticism and growing technical sophistication. New Zealand's World Cup ambition is always shaped by the reality of their position in global football. They are a smaller football nation, competing against the world's best, and their target is first and foremost to be competitive, to represent Oceanian football with distinction, and to earn results that inspire the next generation of young New Zealanders to choose football over the sports that have historically dominated the national sporting culture. A point or a victory against a ranked opponent will be celebrated wildly, and if the squad can replicate the defensive solidarity of 2010, while adding greater attacking ambition, they can be a genuine nuisance to any team in their group. Bosnia and Herzegovina? Bosnia and Herzegovina arrive at the 2026 World Cup as a nation that has been building toward this moment for over a decade, ever since their solitary previous appearance at Brazil 2014 gave the football-obsessed country its first taste of the global stage. The Zmajevi, the Dragons, are a nation where football is not merely a sport but a profound cultural institution, followed with extraordinary passion by supporters who have endured much in recent decades and who find in football a source of unity and collective pride. This squad has consistently produced technically gifted players at the highest level of European club football, and the current generation is determined to show that 2014 was not an anomaly but the beginning of a sustained presence at football's top table. Bosnia and Herzegovina's return to the World Cup through the UEFA playoff pathway is the culmination of years of near misses and heartbreaking qualification failures that have tested the patience and belief of a passionate football nation. Having finally broken through, the Dragons will be determined to make their mark, to advance from the group stage for the first time, and prove that Bosnian football deserves its place among Europe's competitive nations on the global stage. The collective pride and emotion that will accompany this squad throughout the tournament will be a powerful motivating force, and any opponent who underestimates the passion and quality Bosnia bring to every game does so at considerable risk. Sweden? Sweden are one of European football's most historically significant nations, the host and runners-up of the 1958 World Cup. A country that has produced a succession of world-class players across the decades and that has consistently competed at the highest level of international football with a style and identity that is unmistakably Swedish. Organized, physically imposing, technically sound, and collectively disciplined, the Blåguld have never relied on a single superstar to carry them. They have always functioned as a genuine team, every player understanding their role and executing it with the kind of professionalism and commitment that defines Scandinavian football. The post-Latin era has been a fascinating test of that collective identity. Sweden arrived in North America with a squad that blends experienced tournament performers with a new generation of technically educated players who have developed through competitive European leagues. Eucharist is the central figure. If he can transfer his extraordinary club form to the international stage at a World Cup, Sweden become a genuinely dangerous team capable of progressing deep into the tournament. The collective organization that has defined Swedish football for generations remains the foundation, providing the structure within which individual quality can flourish. Sweden are never spectacular, but they are always competitive, always organized, and always far more dangerous than any team foolish enough to overlook them. Turkey? Turkey are a nation of enormous footballing passion and considerable talent that has experienced the highest peaks and the most frustrating valleys of international football in recent decades. Their run to the semifinal of the 2002 World Cup in South Korea and Japan, finishing third, their finest ever achievement, remains the defining moment of Turkish football history. A tournament where Hakan Şükür, Rüştü Rekspor, and a generation of magnificent players captivated the world. 2 decades later, Turkey returns to the World Cup stage with a squad that, while different in character, carries the same burning ambition to make the nation proud and compete with the very best that international football has to offer. Turkey's squad has depth and quality that goes well beyond their 2 headline stars. Players performing consistently in the Super League and across European leagues provide a competitive foundation and the collective ambition of a nation that has been waiting years to return to the World Cup stage will be a powerful motivating force throughout the tournament. Çalhanoğlu and Güler can function together effectively. Turkey have the creative quality to unlock any defense in the world. The challenge is consistency and defensive organization. Turkey can be brilliant and vulnerable in equal measure. But on their best days, with this level of midfield talent, the Turkish national team is capable of competing with and beating the very best teams in this competition. Czechia. The Czech Republic reached the semifinals of Euro 1996 and the quarterfinals of Euro 2004. This is a football nation with genuine heritage, a deep tactical tradition, and a culture that has consistently produced technically educated players who have excelled at the highest levels of European club football. The current generation is determined to add a new chapter to that proud history, returning the Czechs to the World Cup stage after an absence that has frustrated a passionate football nation. Czechia's return to the World Cup is the culmination of a qualifying campaign that required them to navigate the UEFA playoff system with discipline and composure. And they arrive in North America with a squad experienced enough to understand what is required at this level and hungry enough to make the most of the opportunity. Their football is typically Central European in character, structured, physically competitive, technically sound, and effective, and they will be difficult opponents for any team in their group. A quarterfinal run would be considered a significant success and would honor the legacy of previous great Czech and Czechoslovak generations. This squad has the quality and the mentality to achieve it. DR Congo, formerly Zaire, are one of African football's most historically significant nations, the winners of the 1974 Africa Cup of Nations and the first sub-Saharan African team to qualify for the World Cup. When they appeared at the 1974 tournament in West Germany, the Leopards have experienced a long period of underachievement relative to the talent their vast nation produces. But the current generation represents the most exciting and technically gifted Congolese squad in decades, with players competing at the highest level of European football bringing a sophistication and quality that previous generations could not match. Their qualification through the Intercontinental Playoff is a historic moment for Congolese football. DR Congo's appearance at the 2026 World Cup is a statement of intent from a nation that believes its time has come to reclaim African football summit. The Leopards have the talent, the ambition, and the motivation of a sleeping giant awakening to its potential. They will face significant challenges in adapting that club-level individual quality into collective international tournament football. But the squad has experienced coaches and players with the leadership to navigate those demands. A competitive group stage showing that demonstrates the quality and potential of Congolese football to a global audience will be celebrated across a nation starved of this level of achievement. And anything beyond that, a knockout round appearance, will be historic. Iraq. Iraq's qualification for the 2026 World Cup through the Intercontinental Playoff is one of the most emotionally resonant stories of the entire qualification cycle. A nation that has endured decades of conflict, instability, and hardship finding in football. A source of collective joy and national unity that transcends the political and social divisions that have defined so much of its recent history. The Lions of Mesopotamia won the 2007 Asia Cup in one of sport's most extraordinary and moving moments. Their victory celebrated across the country as a rare source of pure, uncomplicated national happiness. Returning to the World Cup for the first time since 1986 carries that same emotional weight multiplied many times over. Iraq's World Cup appearance is first and foremost a moment of national celebration. For a country that has endured so much, seeing their national team compete on the global stage is an achievement of enormous symbolic significance that goes far beyond sport. On the pitch, the Lions of Mesopotamia will compete with everything they have, organized in their defensive shape, dangerous from set pieces, and powered by the extraordinary motivation of representing a nation that needs reasons to celebrate. They are unlikely to advance from their group against the level of opposition they will face, but Iraq will make opponents earn every single point, and the experience of competing at this level will be transformative for Iraqi football's development. Iran's participation in the 2026 World Cup remains one of the most significant and unresolved storylines in the history of the tournament. Following United States and Israeli airstrikes on Iran that began on February 28th, which killed Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and other senior officials, Iran's sports minister declared that the country, in his words, cannot participate in the World Cup under any circumstances. The country's Football Federation president Mehdi Taj stated that his team will certainly not travel to the United States, and negotiations with FIFA to move Iran's group stage games from Los Angeles and Seattle to Mexico have been rejected by the governing body, which insists there is no plan B. FIFA President Gianni Infantino met with Iran's players and officials in Antalya this week, where the team played a warm-up friendly and pledged to continue supporting Iran's preparations. President Trump has said Iran is welcome to participate, but added that they may not want to travel to the United States for their own safety. The situation remains genuinely unresolved, and no modern precedent exists for a team withdrawing from a World Cup of this scale. Iran were the first team to qualify for the 2026 tournament, having dominated Asian qualifying, and the prospect of their absence would create an enormous administrative and ethical challenge for FIFA. The organization has said it will continue to monitor the situation, and that any replacement decision would be discussed at the FIFA Congress in Vancouver on April 30th. On the pitch, Iran have a squad of genuine quality capable of advancing from a group, and Sardar Azmoun remains one of Asia's most accomplished strikers. But as things stand today, whether that quality is on show this summer depends not on football but on geopolitics, and that is an extraordinary and deeply sad situation for the players who qualified and who simply want to play.